Hello, good evening, and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight, we begin with this week's troubling incident from Kogi State, where the family home of suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan came under attack in the early hours of Tuesday. Armed men reportedly stormed the residence in Obeba, Ehima, vandalizing property and creating panic. While no arrests have been made despite the police launching an investigation, the senator believes the attack may have been politically motivated. A chilling reminder of the price many opposition voices are paying across the country. As we zoom out, this attack is not happening in isolation. Across Nigeria, opposition politics is facing increasing pressure from legal battles and suspension to outright violence and intimidation. Critics argue that the political space is shrinking under the weight of a ruling party tightening its grip ahead of the 2027 elections. Is the groundwork for 2027 already being laid out through a climate of fear and suppression? What does this mean for Nigeria's democracy? Tonight, we unpack the signs and signals with our guest, Ismaila Isah, the Special Advisor to the Governor of Kogi State on Media. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you.
Thank you, my brother.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, you're here against the backdrop of the spokesperson's summit. I'll get your take on that in just a moment, but I would like to get your initial assessment of the political space in the country right now. 2027 is still a year, 6 months plus away, give or take. But the tension is quite palpable, and the body language of the political figures or actors involved is telling a rather grim story. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's become customary for politicians that the moment they are done with their election, the plan for the next election immediately swings in. So it's not surprising for me that the gladiators are already gathering and the signs are there as to what the alignments and the realignments of forces will be ahead of 2027. So the signs and all of the build-up, for me it's okay, especially if it's devoid of rancor and acrimony. People can align, realign, and then disalign if they feel like, and that way the political culture for me is evolving in a way that instead of having a one-party system in a country or in a state, you have other political voices and forces gathering together, and in a way also putting the ruling party on their toes. So they need to be aware that there are people who may not be comfortable with some of the things happening, so they need to rejig their policies and programs in a way that will enable them to do better in the next election. So there's nothing bad about what's happening.
Have you seen anything that gives you concern about the way things are taking shape right now? If this is a preview of what's to come in 2027, have you seen anything that gives you cause for concern?
Well, there's nothing really worrisome apart from maybe the violent dimension that we saw in Rivers, and then the insecurity that we see in some parts of the country, which really will call for more aggressive and more strategic intervention from federal authorities and even state governments, the cases where some states have become more of centers of such attacks, as we've seen maybe in Plateau, in Benue, and a couple of other states. So it calls for concern really as to how those in authorities and our state actors are going to really put them set together and then put their acts together in making sure that they nip in bud some of these violent dimensions to whatever is happening within the states and across the country.
All right, so let's double down on some of the specifics of these political tensions. Kogi State has been in the news over the past couple of months for the wrong reasons, I might add. Senator Natasha is back.
For the right reasons, really.
Senator Natasha is back in the news again. This week we've seen another ugly dimension, reported attack on her family home, and yeah, it's safe to say that this drama continues to, capture the imagination of the people within and outside of Kogi State. What is your version of what is actually playing out?
Well, I haven't got details of the said attack. I'm sure that authorities are working to ensure that they unravel whatever happened, and whoever is responsible, I'm sure, will be brought to book. Let me put on record that Kogi State has a zero tolerance policy for violence, especially against people within all of our communities, which is why we are the only state in Nigeria on record that have consistently ensured that we take the fight against bandits and all manner of bad people who come to terrorize our people. So there is no space in our state, anywhere in our state for that matter, for anyone to come around and then begin to visit mayhem on people, especially innocent and very unsuspecting people who are going about their lawful businesses. So it's not a fertile ground for people to foment violence and create problems, which is why consistently we've evolved a community-based approach in our security architecture, ensuring that we constantly recruit local vigilantes, local hunters, and then increase the welfare of our local security personnel, working in collaboration with conventional security officials to ensure that we don't only police our communities, we also ensure that our borders with about 9 states and the FCT are cleared of bad guys who oftentimes will strike on our communities, especially within the border communities, and ensure that our people do not live in peace. So we've been taking the fight against them. Just within the week, or just at the weekend, we concluded a major clearance operation in Kogi West, where there have been some skirmishes, some bandits and criminals have been terrorizing some of our people in some communities, in about 4 local governments also within Kogi West. And security operatives have worked tirelessly for over 3 days to ensure that the clearance operation was successful. And as I speak to you, a lot of those victims have either been neutralized or some of them have been apprehended, and they are helping authorities with information useful for us to continue to get at them.
And let's double down on that, because to the operation you're alluding to, we understand that 2 operatives have lost their lives as a result of that particular operation. Help us dimension the scale of the challenge you're faced with right here, because especially in the north central region, there are these growing concerns about even new groups coming into the theater. Help us understand the scale of the challenge here when we talk about insecurity in Kogi State, or security challenges.
Okay, the major challenge we faced as a state is the fact that we are bordered by a number of states, and it is very easy for these elements to stream into our states almost at will. So, but with the review of our security architecture, what has happened in the last 1 year or more, even towards the end of the immediate past administration, is that we've been consistent in ensuring that we evolve a community-based approach to security, to the extent that we also collaborate with states that are bordering our state, like Kwara, Ekiti, Ondo, Nasarawa, Niger, Benue, Edo, and the rest of them, even the FCT. What that has done for us is that when we are going into any clearance operation, as we've done repeatedly for a couple of months now, we notify governments of all of these states, because we are aware that most of these guys being pushed from either the northeast or the northwest are finding their way into our state, and they come through all of these states. So because of the border that we share with all of these states, so we ensure that these states are notified, particularly those that are we've had a record of close collaboration with, like Kwara, for instance. So on record that Kwara State has been very, very active in ensuring that this collaboration works very well, just like other states. So what we do, especially around Kogi West, is that when we are launching this operation, we carry the governments of these states along. They also have their own local security architecture that understand the terrain very well, just like ours, and then they collaborate to support the conventional security operatives using both on the ground and sometimes above the ground operation in ensuring that we deal with these people. The challenge that we have really, you know that we have a very large expanse of land, and that is also rich in mineral deposits. So, and this has encouraged some of these guys to come around. And as they are being pushed out, especially now with our renewed commitment to making mining work for the people of our state, as the government has already secured licenses, 15 licenses now for mining, and we are going fully into mining. These guys are being cleared consistently, of course with support with the federal government, whose mining marshals have also been active in our state. We are ensuring that we clear all of these places. It will interest you to know that Kogi State has over 600 mining sites, and legally, and there could be 100 more that are illegal. And all of these mining sites, probably only one or a few are owned by Kogi indigenes. So some of these guys who come around to even do mining businesses in our state do not really care about the environment or the community interest. So this has further pushed our people out and then make them more like a zero-sum game for our people, because we own the resources but we don't benefit in any way. And some of the guys who come to help them in carrying out some of these activities also fall on the wayside somehow, and then they take to crime. And this has been something that our state has been particularly worried about, and that's why we are involving a local approach to our mining business now to ensure that the communities take lead in it, ensure that our youth also take lead in it. We are going to empower about 25,000 of our young people to be involved actively in mining operation to ensure that they can help to dissuade them from joining those bad elements who are creating problems for our state.
And we understand that there is a direct correlation between the rising insecurity in northern Nigeria with illegal activities of mining, for instance.
Sure.
How close are we in bridging this particular gap? I mean, you talk about 15 licenses that have been secured by the Kogi State government, but you understand that the actors there, especially the non-state actors who are operating illegally or who want to continue to have their stronghold in those locations, will not necessarily just hands off rather easily. What are you dealing with here in terms of the nature of the space? Because we can talk about Kebbi, we can talk about what's happening in Zamfara. As you did say, if they're pushed from one state, they find solace in other communities that are on the border areas. What are you dealing with here in terms of the scale of the problem?
What we are dealing with essentially is the interest of people who are only interested in taking our resources without a commitment to helping our people and our communities. And that is going to change with the way the government wants to go about mining operation as we've started. Another thing we are dealing with is the illegal lease of land by community leaders, traditional rulers, to people who have no interest of our people at heart, acquiring hectares of land, not just because of the land space, but because of the resources beneath. So we are dealing with that and ensuring that our traditional rulers do not just give land to people indiscriminately, without conducting background checks, without due diligence, and without involving state actors in ensuring that some of these guys are properly verified and profiled. We are also dealing with the fact that our community people or people from our state over time have not been keen about investing in our state, especially now with the SPV that the government has floated, which makes it easy for us to collaborate with local and foreign investors to mine some of these mineral resources that we have in our state. We are also going to be embarking on some kind of road shows, ensuring that people from our state and other Nigerians willing to invest with us that are genuine come to our state and then invest. Right now, most of our senior officials of the government are in China. Is part of the part of the partnership agreement that we are trying to seal with some investors there in China, and they are ensuring that we are able to collaborate with these people either in terms of technology transfer, manpower training, and all of those areas where we feel we have a mutual interest.
And for the most part, if we zoom out a little bit, something that's not necessarily unique to Kogi State but to the rest of the Federation, one of the principal issue that most experts on security have analyzed recently has been to point out the inability of the third tier of government to operate in a functional manner. Let's talk about local government autonomy, because all the states' governors seem to be in lockstep about controlling the local governments I mean, your state had its local council elections last year,
Sure.
which I'm sure you're quite pleased that APC won, even though the quality of the election itself leaves much to be desired. But talk to me about the functionality of the local government as a third tier of government and what it is able to do for the people at the grassroots level. There's only so much the state governor can do, directly or indirectly, by delegating his powers or things like that. But how functional are the local government areas in Kogi State?
Well, in Kogi, I would say that you alluded to the local government election. I wouldn't say it was it left much of desire, because for us it was credible. I was on the field. I voted.
You were a beneficiary.
And a lot of people from our communities voted. Yeah. And the outcome of the election.
Of course, you would say that. You are a beneficiary. You won. So I doubt if you're going to say that there are question marks about the election.
Anyway, you can talk to the SIEC people in the state, and they will show you the data and see how the election went. There were opposition parties that came to contest the election, and they lost. And then they were allowed to maybe conduct their campaigns freely. And the result we went to the election. What we did was essentially to justify the result that we had in the governorship election coming before that local government election, to ensure that we don't only match the numbers, but in some places we double the numbers, to be sure that we actually have our people on the ground, irrespective of what some naysayers were saying about the...
I think there is a collective agreement that local council elections in Nigeria, generally speaking, Kogi not being an exception, is not necessarily an election that a lot of people think has a lot of credibility and integrity. But I get your point. To the issue of the local government autonomy.
Yes, I reason that local governments in our state, from my experience so far, have been left to function very well on their own. And there are key indices that I want to point to. One of them is agriculture. All of our agricultural development projects, especially in terms of rural roads and access to markets by farmers, are being largely driven by the local government in Kogi State, all of the 21 local government areas. And under our one farmer, 1 hectare policy, we ensure that the local government authorities, through their departments of agric, are involved in listing genuine farmers that will qualify for seedlings, fertilizers, and all of the input that the government is making, including the mechanization intervention that we are bringing. And that has been known at least for the last 14 months since we came in, both for the wet season farming that started in June last year and the dry season farming that started later last year. And then very soon, we are already collecting data now to ensure that the wet season farming that we are flagging off by June or thereafter, we will have credible data that will be bigger enough for us to be able to fit into our plan to have nearly 50,000 hectares of land that we're currently mapping for farming in the new season. In terms of healthcare, we are doing over 200 primary healthcare centers that we are revitalizing in the state. All of these are being the need assessment team from the Ministry of Health in the state work closely with the Department of Health in all of our local government to enlist each of those primary healthcare centers that needed to be revitalized. And the data is there for anyone to see. If you look through the Ministry of Health in the state, there's a way they map out all of those primary healthcare centers that you can look at what they need. Some of them, they need more people, they need more facilities. And all of them now, as I'm being told, are being upgraded to what they call functional level 2 primary healthcare center, which is comparable to any general hospital in Nigeria. That's what we're doing in Kogi State. And we did about 70 something, then we did another 88, well over 200 of them that we're doing. Very shortly, some of them will be ready for commissioning. That's for health. In the area of security, very important. All the local vigilantes that we're recruiting, all the local hunters we're recruiting, at least we've done now well over 100 in each of the local government areas. So they are the enlistment of people in the local security architecture comes from the local government authorities. Each of the councillors in the wards are allowed to nominate people, agile and able-bodied men and women that they feel can help us in fighting insecurity are being enlisted. And in terms of political inclusion, Kogi State has almost beaten the record in terms of the affirmative action for women and youth inclusion in governance. And the center of it is at the local government level, where we now have ward special assistants, at least 3 of them in every ward, 239 wards in the state. And this is driven by the local government system. So there's a proper and functional local government system in Kogi State.
Right. It's safe to say that some would say you have described how the Kogi State government has perfectly annexed local government administration, because he kept saying we, and it doesn't look like the local governments
I'm a local government person.
Have their own, yeah, but of course you are.
I'm from a local government.
You are an aide to the governor.
I'm from a ward.
I understand. Everybody is from a ward, even including Governor Ododo is also from a ward. But the point is, administratively speaking, and looking at the structure, the state government, just like you have in most states, use the local governments as an extension of their programs and policy, and there's nothing bad if it's in alignment with what the local governments need. But the idea of local government autonomy is that these local councils can operate on their own based on their needs and their wants, as well as available resources, right? You have 21 local council areas that are being run by APC local government chairman, right? Or at least chairman on the platform of the APC.
Yeah.
Doesn't that in any way undermine the idea behind local government autonomy? Because at the end of the day, they can never go against or have their own opinion, independent of what the state government wants.
The political party doesn't run the local government. Once you are elected, you become an elected official of the people of the state.
Yeah, point taken. But the whole point is this: there is zero chance that any council chairman would independently want to do something else other than what the state government wants.
I don't think that's the case in Kogi, because in our state there are different things that the local government councils are doing which they don't really need to be spoon-fed by the state government. For instance, I have a friend, I think in Ibaji, Olamaboro local government area in Kogi, they are doing a lot of road projects there that I don't know how they are managing to get it done. They are even supporting some state government facilities in their councils. Yes, somewhere in Kogi West, there was a request to the government to support them with, I think, a health officer in one of the local government health facility. And they said that before now, they've been able to somehow manage to sustain the presence of medical doctors in their local primary health care centers. The state now is just going to be adding, making an addition to what they already do in that local government. I think in the Jumo local government area in Kogi West. So these are some of the things that they do based on the available resources and the peculiarities of the local government areas in the state.
So you're saying that in practice, what you have in Kogi today is an autonomous local government?
Sure. You can go and verify.
In every sense of the word?
You can verify. I'm from Okene local government.
You're sure you're not sugarcoating?
No, there are so many things. There are so many things we are doing in the local government areas. For instance, in Central, maybe in Adabi local government, for instance, you understand where I reside. There are so many things the government is doing in terms of security, which somehow they don't need to take permission from the state government. Just in ensuring that people are safe. For instance, they do empower our local vigilantes and hunters. Sometimes they give them mobile phones so they can quickly inform.
I understand that generally speaking, they have some latitude.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But is that equal to autonomy? Because this is something that has continued to linger at the highest level, despite the Supreme Court verdict last year in July. Are their finances under their control? Do they control 100% of their finances?
Well, I think they control their finances.
There's a difference between you think.
I don't attend their maybe financial committee meetings and all of that, but I know they are in control of their resources to the best of my understanding, because I've not seen them come cap in hand and come ask the state governor for whatever they want to do in their local government. At least I work in the government house. I've not seen them come there. Most of them reside back in their local government headquarters. Most of the local government chairmen. You hardly see them come around the state except there's a function. Honestly.
So you would say the local councils, the 21 of them, are autonomous local government areas?
In Kogi State. Because that's where I am. In Kogi State. Honestly, that's what happens.
Right. Well, Kogi is an exception if we have to take your word for it, right? But let's circle back to the biggest conversation we're having tonight. And Kogi State, like one or two other states, has become the perfect example, forming the backdrop for what's to come in 2027. And I mean, you hate to talk about it, obviously, because it's a sour talking point, but there are some who are concerned that, you know, because of the nature and the tradition of politics in Kogi State, this is picture perfect, so to say. There's nothing out of the ordinary here with what's happening regarding Senator Natasha. Is it fair to categorize it as a witch hunt, what's happening to her? From the governor saying, listen, she doesn't have clearance for that famous rally that eventually happened, to the attack on her family, to all the political tension that it is building in Kogi State. I mean, this is happening after she has, you know, gone into the Nigerian Senate. We know of the antiques that happened before she got into the Senate. Is this a political witch hunt? Do you think that's a fair way to describe it?
No, there's no political witch hunt. I think we are trying to blow this out of proportion as far as I'm concerned. I know that there are interests in all of this, but to be honest with you, we don't need to dignify some of this characterization as far as I'm concerned too much, especially in our political discourse, because in Kogi State we value our women and we respect them a lot, which is why we have quite a number of them in political positions right now. In the state cabinet we have up to 5 of them, and then at the local government level we have up to 20 local government vice chairmen and 1 executive chairman in the Magongo local government. We have over 25 special advisors out of about 55 or 58, and then we have well over 100 senior special assistants that are female, and all of these people are being enhanced and encouraged to maybe chart a path for themselves and for women inclusion in governance. So it would be out of place for one to characterize what's happening in Kogi as a political witch hunt or something against the rise of women in politics. No, instead we like to give spaces.
But nobody generalized it to women in politics. We're talking about a specific individual that appears to be targeted.
It's not a witch hunt. She's not being targeted. There are political issues.
When a homecoming rally is being denied, when she's been denied protection, you don't think that is tantamount to a witch hunt?
The rally has been held and it's been over.
But against the wishes of the government.
For us, we have moved beyond this. We moved beyond this.
Onto the next attack?
Because we are onto serious business in governance. Like I did tell you about our investment in mining, which is taking center stage now, and for which some of our state officials are outside the country, seeking the kind of partnership that will enable us to quickly leapfrog and then take that to the next level. So we are not really bothered about the politics of a senatorial district. Honestly, it's not part of our agenda.
Is that also a part of the concern that her political currency or stock has gone up significantly, and you worry about the phenomenon that is Natasha going into 2027?
Anyway, as somebody from Kogi Central, I would say we are not really worried. We are not worried. If the elections were to be held today, maybe if the recall had gone through and the election was held, APC will win, irrespective of who they are bringing up or who the party is bringing up. But
did you sign that petition, by the way? Because you say you're from Kogi Central, right?
Yes.
So she is your senator, right? I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, you don't have to say yes. I mean, you're from Kogi Central. She's your senator. But did you sign the petition?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you believe that this whole thing, the drama that has accompanied it, is being exaggerated. There's no big deal here.
Honestly, there's no big deal. If the constituents feel that they have a right to recall anyone, the person should go face them. It has happened before. Even in Kogi State, and then people came out, and then the person remained in the Senate. Then when the next election came, the person lost.
That's what I'm asking. Why is this like a tradition, so to say, especially under the APC administration? Because we're having this conversation against the backdrop of suppression, political suppression from the ruling party, whether at federal or state level. And Kogi State, under Bello, we've seen that attempt.
I'm not aware of any suppression in Kogi.
Yeah, that's what I'm alluding to. Under Bello, Senator Dino Olai, had to deal with the same thing. Under Governor Ododo, Senator Natasha. So I'm saying there's a pattern now of people in opposition facing this type of treatment in Kogi State.
Well, it's also a pattern with the conduct of those lawmakers who have been recalled. We've had, I'm sure, tens of lawmakers from the state since the return to democracy in 1999. I don't think you've had that with other people apart from these two characters. And then maybe their conduct also is consistent with the fact that the constituents have to make this kind of move, even if it doesn't go through. But that's for me is more to worry about the conduct of these persons than the conduct of the constituents who feel they have the right to do what they are doing, democratically enabled. Whether it fails or doesn't succeed, that's a different ball game. As far as I said earlier, we move beyond this. Seriously, we move beyond this.
Right. Still talking about some of the political tensions in Kogi, former governor of the state, the immediate past governor Ismaila Isah, had petitioned the Inspector General of Police demanding Senator Natasha's arrest allegedly because of defamatory statements made against him. I mean, you say these things are like small matters, but if the people, the big political stakeholders in Kogi state don't let it go, right, don't reconcile, or at least show that there's a need to lower the temperature, isn't this just going to make matters worse? I mean, if something happens to, say, for instance, Senator Natasha, whether an arrest or, you know, some of these political pressures continue coming her way.
Well, I'm aware that this matter is already in court, so it won't be professional for me to go into it. But
no, I'm not talking about the specifics of the matter. I'm saying that if people like former Governor Ismaila, for instance, are making news because of petitions like this, doesn't it then capture the imagination of the people to assume that these tensions are important?
Well, in communications law, we are told that where there is any allegation that impugns the person's character or something defamatory, you have the right, if you feel that maybe your standing or reputation in society could be lowered or affected by this kind of statements or something written, you could sue, so you can stand the chance of not being maligned or your character being impugned before right-thinking members of society. So I think the former governor, Ismaila Isah, is within his right to exercise whatever petition he has put forward.
You don't think it's overlooking the committee?
It's not. It's just normal. It's a suit that any of us can file, or it's a report.
I guess it's normal for people in Kogi. This much drama. It's safe to say that other states can say that they're not quite used to this, but I can understand if you say it's normal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one thing that has also been reverberating politically speaking.
Okay.
The coalition talks. SDP has been getting a lot of momentum recently because of the conversations around
Kogi state.
I was about to get to the question, right? And that momentum is pushing towards a united front for opposition figures to align and wrestle power from the APC. At the national level, I suppose, is objective number one, but they would love to spread their influence also across all the states of the federation. And we do know the run-up in the gubernatorial election in 2023 was an SDP candidate. Does that worry your boss, that SDP is getting this much momentum and there's a very good chance that a coalition could be bad for his re-election efforts, if at all he's going for re-election?
We are not worried about the momentum of opposition parties or even the fact about re-election campaign for now. Like I've said in other platforms where I've appeared, His Excellency Abdullahi Ahmed, the executive governor of Kogi State, is somebody who is in a hurry to make impact in the state, and there's a lot of ground to be covered within the next 2 years plus that is left for his first term in office, by the grace of God. Possibly he'll get another term, but the concern for the people of Kogi State is how to properly tame the tide of insecurity that we've seen some skirmishes around in the last few weeks that we are tackling head on. And then it's also for us to mainstream our state generally into the league of frontier states in terms of economic development, all of the indices of human capital development, from health, from education, and what have you. So we are not really bothered about what the political climate might be saying, but that doesn't mean that we are not aware of it. Just like you, we are aware, but the focus is on ticking the boxes in terms of all of our campaign promises to improve on our indices for human capital development, focusing more on health and education, to make agriculture and food security a priority for our state, and then improve on security and of course infrastructure, which are the 4 cardinal objectives of our development agenda. So that's the focus that we have. We are not too bothered about all of the things that may be happening within the opposition coalition and the other things that's happening in the polity. But we just want to make impact, seriously.
Right. Looking at the election result from the Kogi governorship election, right, and the not so wide margin of victory, are you in denial to say that
446,253
No,
is
no,
not
no.
a wide margin?
I'm getting to the question. If there is a coalition today, are you not worried that they could potentially tip the scales? I mean, APC is at the national level, their approval ratings are plummeting, to say the least. I mean, even though there is no official data to to allude to, but you can tell with inflation going up and Nigerians living hand to mouth, as the case may be, it's safe to say that the platform is not what it used to be some 8 years ago, for instance, or even 12 years ago in the build-up to 2015. In terms of weighing what the opposition is up to and you trying to deliver on your mandate, looking at what's happening within the polity, is the Ododo administration confident that no matter how much momentum the opposition gets or the coalition gets, if it happens, there's nothing that could sway the people of Kogi State to look for an alternative?
Politics is local, I'm sure you're aware. So it doesn't matter what's happening at the federal. Sometimes that bandwagon effect may not really be what will happen in some states. Like you saw in the last election, there are states where even the APC struggled despite winning the presidential election. They struggled in the governorship election. Sometimes despite winning the governorship election, they struggled in the presidential election, like you saw in Lagos and you saw in Kano. So these are the dynamics. And I can assure you that for us in Kogi, we are not losing sleep over what the indicators might be, but we are consistently ensuring that we deliver on our campaign promises, we keep the people happy. Our social welfare policies have been, largely a benchmark for most states. We are aware we are the first state to begin payment of the new minimum wage of 72,500 even before the federal government of Nigeria. Yeah, we are the first state. October last year, we are the first state.
Yes. I'm sure there are a couple of states that were paying even before
within 15 days of setting up a committee to review and align with the recommendation of the federal government, we began implementation. We are the first state to start paying. Yes.
I mean, let's agree to disagree.
So, and then we are also the first to pay more than 70,000 naira. That you cannot disagree with. Yes, and then we are.
There are so many states that are paying above 70.
Yes, I know, but we are the first to start. It's on record.
Why do you care that you are first?
Because we are concerned about quickly meeting the yearnings of our people, because they've long been looking forward to this opportunity. We know how our civil servants have suffered.
What about those arrears and entitlements that has been an issue?
We are also clearing up some of those backlogs, like our pension arrears. I know where we are in terms of the clearance. As it is right now in Kogi, you no longer need anybody of influence to get your benefits once you retire from the state civil service. We are also ensuring that we implement increment in our pension allowances to all our retirees. We are also bringing our retirees into the free health insurance scheme by the state government. A lot of our state civil servants have been captured now in the formal sector register for the state healthcare insurance, and we are extending that to local government workers. We are also doing that for vulnerable people, including pregnant women, children between 0 to 5, the elderly, and maybe families of fallen heroes or ex-servicemen. So this is something we are doing in the state that is reverberating across the state. That's why I say we are not really worried about how the tension and the politics is hitting at the federal level, for instance.
I just want to show you one particular video. I know you hate to see this, but this was the rally, and you're telling Nigerians, you're telling the people that this doesn't worry if one person could make such a statement in Kogi State. You're saying the likes, if the entire opposition unite, it still wouldn't keep you up at night. let's just roll the clip of the rally. In case you have missed it, the rally that was half-baked because it partially couldn't happen based on the plans because the state government didn't want to guarantee security. But you were saying that with everything that's happening on the opposition side, you don't think that it's enough to even give you any cause to worry at all?
We're not worried, really. And I'm saying it as somebody who is on ground. Almost every week I go to my local government area and I relate with the local people. Look, there is the place for sentiment, you understand, in politics. There is the place for maybe somebody who is not my friend suddenly joining up with somebody who is also not my friend. I don't want to use the other word. So, and there is the place for people who feel aggrieved as sore losers in the last governorship election, for instance, to quickly join up forces with some other persons. You understand? Some of them traveled from far and near to just make a number. And you also know that some of these people they weaponize poverty to get people together so they can get stipends. So we are in the terrain and we understand how this is done. So please don't be deceived about some of these people.
We'll talk about
when it's time for election, these people won't matter. There
are a lot of videos that have made the rounds online, right, that have gone viral, reportedly sponsored by the ruling party during that recall process. And they alluded to how they were being mobilized, for one thing, only to come to the center and realize that there was an ulterior motive at play. So I mean, when you talk about weaponizing poverty, it's safe to say that all political parties are guilty of doing that.
Well, I'm not guilty of doing that because I won't do that. I won't do that.
No, I'm saying political parties. I'm not saying you. I'm saying political parties.
Well, I won't do that. Right. So I'm not aware if others do that. But I have seen this because I'm from this community and I know what happens there. I know all of those who are involved in mobilizing people, and I saw the show that was being put up. But we are not bothered about it, seriously speaking, because like I tell you, we are from a different community here. Luckily, you are not from my place, so we know how this is done. When it's time for election, probably I'll invite you to come and cover the election if we are going to be running in 2027.
So you see how two times we've covered Kogi, it has been violent, turbulent, unsafe. This has been the nature of Kogi elections.
Maybe I wasn't there.
Right, maybe everybody else needs that type of guarantee. But on a final note, regarding this coalition talks, right? Do you think this is healthy for Nigeria's democracy? Because we talk about identity politics being the bane of Nigerian politics, where people overlook credibility, integrity, character, and all of the things that they need to in vetting a candidate on election day, simply going off on sentiment. Do you think a coalition, a viable coalition facing the APC in Kogi and across the nation ahead of 2027 is good for Nigeria's democracy?
I mean, the political arena is a free place for people to express sentiments, canvass ideas, seek support, and then push forward candidates or themselves as candidates for them to get sympathy or get elected by the people. But like you do know, the political party in Nigeria has become more like a vehicle to get you to power. It may not really be that you are going there to implement some kind of strong ideology for which the party actually was seeking to be voted into power. Individuals come into office and they do their thing, despite what the party might have presented before the people. And I think there have been some judgments that the vote is for the political party. But we know that in reality, in some communities, like in our place, most times the vote is for the person who is running and not for the party. We've also seen that in action. So the fact that opposition party or characters are gathering to build momentum for 2027, for me, is healthy for Nigeria. It shows that we are maturing, the political climate is maturing, and that individuals can gather, can align, can meet, and then canvass ideas. I mean, as a Democrat, I will be averse to a one-party system where nobody has a dissenting view or dissenting voice. No, I'm fully for whatever is happening now, but it also makes the ruling party to sit up and then do better. We know that Mr. President is trying, all of the governors, they are trying their best, but I think that the people want more, and then most of them are going to do more. In Kogi, we are doing more. Like we've seen in the history of our state, we've never floated an SPV to go into mining business. Now we have 15 licenses. All of our over 32 mineral deposits in all of the local government areas in the state that have been moribund and exploited by strangers that we don't know are now going to they are not going to be working for the people of our state. For the first time, in terms of agriculture, we are mainstreaming almost all of our stakeholders, now the young people, the women, to at least apply and then get a hectare, as we are doing almost 50,000 hectares in the coming wet season. So those are some of the things we are doing. In terms of our security challenges, which have been a concern for some time, we are tackling it headlong, and then we are ensuring that we collaborate between the local security architecture and the conventional security forces to deal with it, and our people are happier for it. So it's better that all of our state governments or at sub-national levels are doing this, and hopefully it will coalesce at the federal level, and then Nigerians will be happier, depending on which party is in power or who is the president.
Some would say that in your effort to spin the narrative and, you know, paint the pictures glass half full, you're counting your chickens before they hatch.
For me,
yeah, I mean, you talk about the SPV, you talk about all of these things, they have not matured yet. But you're already counting it.
They will mature very soon, because we have the crystal ball in terms of the investment that we need to make. As I speak to you, we've unveiled all the machines that we need to deploy in the areas where we are going to be formally putting forward our foot in the mining operation. We've unveiled the machines, and we are seeking collaboration now with the government of Hunan province in China, who are going to be partnering with us with support in terms of machinery, technology transfer, manpower training and development. And then very, very soon you see that the narrative will change, because we have the backing of the federal government to ensure that the mineral deposits in our state work for our people for the first time in the history of our state.
All right. For the benefit of everyone in Kogi, we do hope that it works out just the way you envisioned, or the state government envisions it will work out. Finally, on the political conversation, Nigerians have seen their political figures go at it, you know, in terms of their rivalries, right? Some of them are laced with ethno-religious commentary. Some of them are apparently looking like constructive criticisms and things like that. But there are certain states where you have these ethnic tensions that pretty much determine the political rhetoric in the state. How healthy is the relationship, or how would you describe the relationship between the key political figures in Kogi in terms of what they're saying and how their followers are interpreting it?
Well, before this time, I will acknowledge the fact that our political leaders have used maybe ethnic, religious sentiments to reap support or mobilize support, and that is maybe not wrong, because they believe that the end will justify the means. So, but under the current administration, one thing that we've done, which is also building on what the immediate past administration achieved, is to ensure that we unite our people, irrespective of ethnic or religious differences. And this government of Abdullahi Ahmed has been consistent in ensuring that we do not maybe do anything on the basis of ethnicity or religion, which is why if you look at the cabinet, you see some pretty sense of balance in the system, and you see some of the key government functionaries that maybe those who are really running the government, as it were, they work together irrespective of their ethnic or religious backgrounds. In short, beyond that, appointments in the state are made ensure that there's a spread through the senatorial districts and even at local government level. And the essence is to enhance that coalition, that there is cooperation among all of the different parts of the state. And that has been consistent with the character of the governor, who most of his best friends in this government are not even from Kogi Central, where he comes from. Some of the very senior figures that are very close to him in the government. And that has also was also the case with the immediate past governor, who for the first time in the history of the state had a chief of staff from outside of his ethnic group. You understand? So, and this culture, we are building on it, ensuring that even those of us at our own level of government, we try to reach out to our friends in different parts of the state, ensuring that we can build some level of coalition for the government and then to support the policies and programs of this government. So really, despite the differences you might notice in terms of who is from where or who is this and who is that, there has been serious cooperation between some of our leaders, even those at the national level, those who are not holding offices in our state, but they are from our state, be they senators, members of the House of Representatives, and other political appointees of Mr. President that are from the state. Every time we have maybe state functions, we invite them to take part. And just about a week ago, the DG of the Energy Commission of Nigeria, who is holding a federal appointment, was appointed by the governor to manage the state basketball association because of his enthusiasm and interest in that sport. The same thing we do for all of our very highly placed people who are operating at the federal level. We bring them into what we are doing in the state to ensure that they make input based on their level of exposure and experience in government.
All right. For peace to reign, is there a chance that one day we could see Governor Ododo and Senator Natasha shake hands and work together for the interests of Kogi State?
There's no difference between them.
Right.
In fact, in Ajakuta, during the...
I was waiting for a yes or no answer.
No, I mean, there's no difference between them already.
Right.
Yes, there have been exchanges of mutual respect and understanding between them. At the launch of the mini LNG plant in Ajakuta, the governor exchanged a hug with the husband of the senator, and then they greeted quite warmly. And in the governor's opening remarks, he commended the husband for taking care of our sister, the senator. So there has been some level of mutual respect. Of course, there's mutual respect among our people. Forget about what you see in the air. I mean, we don't hate people just like that, especially those of us from Kogi Central. No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't, because in the end, we are all trying to serve our people.
Interesting conversation.
Thank you very much.
Isah, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. I appreciate you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
All right, and of course with that, we'll wrap things up for this week's edition of Sunday Politics. Thank you most kindly for your time and your company. We'll be back next weekend live and exclusive on Trust TV. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Good evening.